So on New Year's Eve, we bought two 20-pound turkeys when they were on sale at Aldi's for 99 cents a pound. Ran out of room in my freezer. The protein grocery haul we did a couple weeks ago, I had to take them out. I had to cook them. So we did. Well, now, what are we going to do with all that turkey? Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you are with Grammy in the kitchen. So we went ahead and cooked 1.5 of those turkeys because I started to remove the meat from one of them because I was going to turn it into ground turkey because I really didn't want to process 2 whole turkeys. I'd rather ground it, but I found out that was just a little too tedious. We did do a little bit more than half of one. So I have it in this bowl right here. Stuck it in the freezer until I had time to get to it. It's frozen solid. Now we need to let this thaw so we can ground it. We stopped because that was just way too tedious. So in the countertop roaster, I went ahead and cooked the 1 whole turkey plus whatever was left from the second turkey from removing all the raw meat. And then the next day we deboned it. This is all turkey meat. So then we put the bones and all the juices that it produced in that roaster in Ziploc bags, stuck those in the refrigerator till we were ready to process. 2 days ago, which was Friday morning, I got up, I put all those bones and all the drippings in the roaster. I'll put a clip right here. Two bags of bones and 2 bags of drippings into the roaster, filled it up with water, added some salt, some peppercorn, and some bay leaves. And we let that roast on 250 degrees for 24 hours. Then on Saturday morning, we got up, we strained it, took all the big bulk pieces out, the bones and all the little pieces, threw that in the trash. And then I strained that one more time through a piece of cheesecloth or muslin to get all the little bits and pieces out. Put everything back into the roaster. Once we cleaned it, got all the bits and pieces out of there, we put that broth back into the roaster. We stuck it in the refrigerator for 24 hours. That way the fat will be easier to remove. And now we're going to go ahead and make our soup starters. So I went ahead and got all the wide mouth quart size mason jars. I have 7 washed and ready to go. We are going to cold pack this soup starter. The turkey meat is cold. The vegetables are still in the freezer frozen. The jars are cold. And the canner I have on the stove with cold water. Completely cold packing this soup starter. If you're ready, let's get started. I do want to go ahead and chop up this turkey into smaller pieces. That way they fit in the jars a little bit better. So I'm just going to rough chop all this turkey meat. So give me a few minutes and I'll bring you right back when we're ready to start defatting the turkey broth that we have in the refrigerator. It's been in there over 24 hours. And then once that's done, we're ready to start building some soup starters in some jars. All the turkey has been rough chopped into bite-sized pieces, dark and white meat. We're going to set that aside. And this is our turkey broth. And I do want to get as much of this fat off as possible. So we're just not adding that into the soup starters. So I'm just trying to skim off the top just a bit. We don't have to get it all out, but we do want most of it out. It'll just make a cleaner broth in our soup starter. Okay, I think we're going to call it right there. I need to dispose of this. So this is some frozen vegetables I picked up at Walmart. It's corn, peas, green beans, and carrots. That's what we're going to use. So we did use some of this in the shepherd's pie, but I stopped at Lidl's and picked up another bag just in case we didn't have enough. Now we are ready to start building our jars. So I have my 4 jars canning lid. I just need to wash and rinse these and I'll be right back. So we got the lids, we have the rings, we have the turkey, the vegetable, and the broth. Everything is still cold, and we're using wide mouth quart size mason jars. I have a little bowl of vinegar and a paper towel so we can wipe the rim, and we have the debubbler. Let's get started. So I'm gonna fill half the jars with turkey, the other half with the vegetables, and then we'll put the broth in. That looks about good. Now we do need to leave a 1-inch headspace. Does that look okay to you? I think it's going to be okay. Now we're going to get some of our delicious homemade turkey broth. Fill that up. Oh, Vicky. I made a mess, family. It's okay. We got this. Wouldn't be Grammy's kitchen if we didn't make a mess. Let's go slow. Just take the debubbler. That did not turn out very well. Okay, here we go. The cold liquid and the frozen vegetables are kind of like fusing together. We got this. Oh yeah, there we go. We got it, we got it, we got it, family. We want to go to a 1-inch headspace. This one needs some more liquid. Paper towel and some vinegar. Wipe that rim down. We don't want any kind of particles or grease or anything on the edge, on the top rim of our jars that will prohibit it from making a good seal. And we want a really good seal. and brand new 4-jar lids, a ring, fingertip tight, and in the canner. And we're just going to repeat until we get 7 jars filled, lid, and in the canner. So we have 7 jars in the canner with the required amount of water, cold jars, cold contents. We are cold packing this canner. We're going to put our lid on. I do this every time, family. Just add a little bit of vinegar. That would keep the hard water deposits from being on our jars. Now we can put our lid on. Put our wing nuts on. Now we want to do a visual all the way around and make sure the bottom and the top has the equal amount of space. We're just going to do a visual. This side needs to come down a little bit more. Do another visual, a little bit more. So I'm loosening the back 3 and tighten up the front 3. Until it looks even to me, and we are there. Now we're going to crank it down. Make sure that top is on there really, really tight. Turn the burner on. I have it on medium heat. So we're going to let the canner, the water, and the contents come up to temperature slowly. Then once we get steam out of this hole right here, it's called a peck, I believe it's called. We need to do a freight train steam for 10 minutes. Then we can put our weight on. My altitude, I am 10 pounds of pressure. That's when we can put our weight on it. Once that 10 minutes has expired, we need to let it come up to pressure to 10 pounds. Then the weight will start jiggling. That's when our timer starts. We have meat in quart-sized jars, so we have to can these for 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half. Once it comes to pressure, once our weight starts jiggling, that's when our time starts. Because we are cold packing, everything in this canner is cold. It's going to take a little bit longer to get up to temperature, but that's okay. We have time. We'll have soup starter when we're done. And since we're cold packing, I'm just going to go ahead and build all the jars, put them in the refrigerator. That way once the 90 minutes is up and it depressurizes naturally, we cannot force depressurizing this, and we're able to get those jars out, and then our water inside the canner and the canner itself cools down. We can redo the process again until we run out of products or jars, whichever comes first. I'll see you when we're ready to take this out, and then we'll put the new ones in. So we have 7 wide mouth mason jars in the canner with both turkey, vegetables, and broth. Went ahead and made 7 more jars. They're in the refrigerator until we're ready to put those in the canner. And after those 14 jars, I have this amount of turkey left over. We're actually going to have this a meal tonight, tomorrow night, who knows. But I'll make some Alfredo sauce with some turkey. No problem at all. Nothing goes to waste. But I do have some broth left over. I'm going to go ahead and get those in the jars, put those in the refrigerator. Once we're finished with the soup starters, we can go ahead and can the broth. If not today, definitely by tomorrow. And since we're not going to can this right away, we're going to do a cold pack on this also. I have a little bit of turkey in here. It's okay. It's going to be okay. So I'm going to fill up some quart-size mason jars with some cold stock. And we'll just store this in the refrigerator until we're ready to can it. I'm not going to have enough to get 5 quarts, so we're just going to dilute it with some water. It'll be okay. So I'm going to divide what we have, making a mess, for 5 jars, and then we'll just add some water to it. All right, that looks good. Go to the 1-inch head space. A clean paper towel, some vinegar, let's wipe the rims. Brand new, clean and rinsed 4-jar lids. And a ring fingertip tight. And I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator with the other 7 jars of soup starter until we can get into that canner and get another batch going. My canner is a All-American 921. It holds 7 quarts or 16 pints double layered, but the minimum I can is 5 quarts. So that's why we did 5 quarts and had to add water, because I'm not wasting a lid just to can water to take up the space of that 5th jar. We know this is highly concentrated. We made it with just bones, turkey water, and cooked it for 24 hours. So it's highly concentrated. So adding a little bit of water to it, it's not going to affect anything. Let me get the kitchen reset. We need to keep an eye on the canner. Once the steam comes out of that PEC valve, we have to time it for 10 minutes. Freight train crazy. Then we can put our weight on it. It'll come up to pressure. Like I said earlier, my altitude is 10 pounds of pressure. Then we can start our timer once it reaches 10 pounds of pressure and that weight starts jiggling. So I'm going to take this time to get the kitchen reset. I'll bring you back when we're ready to move on to the next step of that canner. In the refrigerator. So we do have some steam coming out of the PEC right here, but it's not freight train. It's pretty steady. It's not showing very well. I mean, you can see the steam, but it's not freight train steady. So we're gonna let that go just a little bit longer until it just shoots up with some force. I'll bring you back when we're ready to put that gauge on. Now it's coming out with some force. Now we need to go ahead and set a timer for 10 minutes, and then we can put our weight on. I'll see you in 10 minutes. "10 minutes is up. I have the weight. We're going to put it on 10 pounds of pressure. We're going to wait till the gauge gets up to 10 pounds. The weight will start jiggling, and that's when our timer starts. We have meat in their soup starters in quart-sized jars, and it needs to process for 90 minutes once it comes up to pressure. We're getting very close. It's about 9.5 pounds of pressure that it's going to start jiggling really, really soon. So we're going to adjust the temperature. We don't want it to jiggle that much that fast. We want it to jiggle about 4 times a minute. So we're going to have to play with the stove to get it into the right position. Alright, so it stopped and it jiggles. And it stops. We wanted to do that 4 times a minute, so once every 15 seconds. Perfect. So we're going to keep an eye on that for the next 90 minutes. To make sure that it's doing the 4 jiggles in a minute. No more, no less. We wanted to stay within the pressure of 10 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes. We'll have to adjust the flame to keep that momentum going. So we'll just keep adjusting it high, low, until we get to where we want it. See you in 90 minutes. Timer is up. We're going to turn the burner off. We're going to let it depressurize naturally. We're not going to manually release it. Then once the gauge goes to 0 and there's no pressure left in here, that's when we'll take the weight off. Since the burner is off, it is safe for me to leave the kitchen, leave the house. The husband and I are going to run to the store. When we come back, it should be close to, if not ready, to take that weight off. See y'all in a few minutes. The canner has depressurized naturally. Let's go ahead and take that weight off. And we're going to wait 5 minutes. 5 minutes is up. Let's loosen the wing nuts. Slowly open the lid away from us. We have it resting on the bottom. We're going to leave it right here for 5 minutes. Now we're going to take the lid off and wait 5 minutes. Smells good. And now we can take the jars out of the canner. So we have 7 jars of soup starter cooling off so that we can wash those and get those on the pantry shelf. And it's already 6 p.m. I am not going to start another canner tonight. We'll pick this up tomorrow morning. We'll get the other 7 jars that are in the refrigerator ready to go in the canner. And then once that's done, the canner cools off, we'll do the turkey broth. But we've got 7 done, 7 more to go. I'll see you tomorrow, family. So I woke up at 7 o'clock this morning and got the canner going for the second half of the turkey soup starter. I can tell you, it took 5 hours from putting the jars in till taking the jars out. Because we are cold packing, it takes a little bit longer for the temperature inside the canner to get up to temperature to start steaming. The contents in the jars were cold. The jars were cold. We kept those in the refrigerator overnight. From yesterday, the water in the canner was cold and the canner itself was cold. So from start to finish, it took 5 hours. It took an hour and 15 minutes for the temperature inside the canner to start steaming. And once we get to that freight train steam, we had to let it steam for 10 minutes before we could put our weight on it. Once we put the weight on the canner, it took 22 minutes for it to get up to pressure. My altitude is 10 pounds of pressure. That's when our timer started, and then we processed them for 90 minutes. Once that 90 minutes was over, we turned the burner off, left the weight on it until it naturally depressurized. And that took an hour and 10 minutes for it to depressurize for us to be able to take that weight off. And then we did 5-minute increments. Weight off, wait 5 minutes. Took the wing nuts off, raised the lid on its resting spot for 5 minutes. Took the lid off. We're going to wait 5 minutes. Then we can get the jars out of the canner. Our turkey stock is still in the refrigerator in the jars with the lids and the rings. But we have to wait till the canner to cool off before we can start processing those. Again, cold packing. But we only have to pressure can the stock for 25 minutes for quart-sized jars. So that's going to be a little bit quicker. Still have to wait till everything comes up to temperature to start steaming and go through the same process of venting for 10 minutes, putting the weight on it, getting it under pressure, processing it for 25 minutes, turning the burner off, let it depressurize naturally, remove the weight, 5 minutes, open the lid, 5 minutes, remove the lid, 5 minutes, take the jars out. So the process is the same, it's just the timing is different. Went ahead and removed the rings and washed and labeled the jars from yesterday. But family, that is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Now what can we do with turkey soup starter? That we have turkey, some mixed vegetables, and turkey broth in this jar. I'm going to give you a few suggestions, and if you can think of anything else other than what we're going to mention today, leave a comment below. Share your ideas of what we could do with a soup starter. One, we can make soup. We can add potatoes and make a turkey and vegetable soup. We can add rice, turkey and rice soup. We can add pasta, turkey noodle soup. Those are the easy ones. But we can also turn this into a turkey style shepherd's pie. We can drain the broth and make a gravy. We already have the vegetables in here. We have the turkey in here. Mix that together, put some mashed potatoes on top, bake it. We got turkey shepherd's pie. We can also make a creamy milk gravy from the turkey stock. Use the turkey and the vegetables, add a few potatoes to it, put it in a pie crust, and we have turkey pot pie. We can also take this broth, turn it into a creamy sauce, similar to like an Alfredo turkey broth sauce. Cook some pasta, add all this to it, and we have a pasta dish that we can have, kind of like a turkey vegetable Alfredo sauce dish. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. The way we can this, I'm going to say this and it's going to be very controversial. It's not an approved recipe. That being said, it doesn't mean it's not safe. It is safe. We follow the protocol of canning meat and vegetables. If you take all the ingredients in here, can them individually, the timing is going to be different. The pressure timing will be different. We went with what takes the longest to pressure, and that is the meat. All the recipes I found online, including the National Center of Home Preservation, says to warm everything up. Warm the broth, add the turkey, add the vegetables, get everything up to temperature, put it in hot jars in a hot canner called hot pack, and process it from there. I didn't want to overcook the vegetables because they were frozen. They're blanched and frozen. They're ready to go. Just heat it up a little bit and they're good. The turkey was already cooked. The broth was already cooked. I didn't want to overcook my soup starter. That's why I decided to cold pack it. So everything will be cooked together in the canner and not twice in a stock pot and then the canner. So although this is not an approved recipe, it is a safe recipe. I'm not saying you have to do it this way. If you don't feel comfortable doing it my way, put everything in a stock pot, bring everything up to temperature, and then hot pack can your soup starter. But if you're an experienced canner, you know approved and safe is okay. You can follow the approved recipe, but if you know what you're doing, you can go with what you want to do as long as it's safe. Ours is safe. Knowing the difference between approved, safe, and unsafe comes with experience. Get in your kitchen and do some canning, but follow the approved recipes from the National Food of Home Preservation. And once you understand the process of pressure canning or water bath canning, then you can go and do safe recipes that you create. It's time to take them out. Oh, family, that is so beautiful. And I'll leave it right there on the counter until they completely cool. We'll take the rings off, wash the jars, label, add it to the ones we have sitting on the island, and we'll put it in our pantry. As for the canner, I'm gonna let that water come down temperature till it's cold, and then we're gonna start on that turkey broth. And I'll bring you right back. Okay, family, it's time to get the turkey broth canned. So the turkey broth is cold, the jars are cold. It's been in the refrigerator overnight. Our last bit of soup starter came out of the canner 4 hours ago. The water is cold. I already added the vinegar to the canner. I do need to add some water to make sure it's at the right requirement. Lid's going on. We're going to put the wing nuts down. We're going to do a visual to make sure that the top and the bottom has the even amount of gap in between all the way around. And it looks like the back this time needs to be cranked down a bit. So I'm loosening the front, cranking down the back, another visual check, and we are good. Flame on. We're going to do the same thing with the turkey broth as we did for the soup starter. Because we are cold packing, it needs to come up to temperature slowly, which it will. Once it starts boiling and steam comes out of this peck, we need to have it freight train steam, like the force steam coming out. We have to time that for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, we can put our weight on it. Again, I am 10 pounds of pressure. We'll put it on 10 pounds. The reason I say that is because my weight actually has 3 different settings. It has a 5 pound, 10 pound, 15 pound, and that depends on your elevation above sea level. Where I'm located in Virginia, I am at 10 pounds of pressure. So once we add this on there, we need to let the pressure rise to 10 pounds. This is going to start jiggling, and that's when our timer starts. We need to pressure the broth for 25 minutes under pressure. So the little weight has to jiggle about 4 times a minute. Jiggle, stop, jiggle, stop, jiggle. About 4 times a minute. Once we reach that status, that is when our timer starts, 25 minutes. When the 25 minutes is up, we'll turn the flame off, leave the weight on. It's got to depressurize naturally. Once the gauge gets down to 0, it is safe to take the weight off. We're going to do the 5-minute increments. 5 minutes with the weight off. Remove the wing nuts. We're going to rest the lid on the base for 5 minutes. Take the lid off, wait 5 minutes, and then our jars are ready to come out. And after that, we are done canning. We did 2 sessions of our turkey soup starter, and we've got 5 jars in here of the turkey broth. So excited, so excited. Family, we're done. We did it, we're finished. We got all of the turkey vegetable soup starters canned, washed, and labeled, ready for the pantry. Plus, late last night, I went ahead and did the turkey broth, washed and labeled, and also ready for the pantry. This morning, I woke up and went ahead and ground all the turkey that we had taken off of the bones before we gave up on it. And I put those in vacuum sealed bags. I have 4 1-pound bags ready for the freezer. Plus I have a 1 pound and 6 ounce bag that I'm going to leave out because I'm going to make spaghetti with meatballs this week. So we're just going to put this in the refrigerator. So let me break this cost down for you. We got 2 turkeys after Christmas at Aldi's when they went on sale for 99 cents a pound. They were an average about between 19 and 20 pounds a piece. We got 2 of those. So we'll say we spent $40 on turkey. I started off with the idea of grinding the turkey meat to make my own ground turkey, but I found that was just a little too tedious for me. So we gave up about a little bit more than halfway in 1 turkey, and that's where we got the ground meat from. But we did end up with 5 pounds and 6 ounces of ground meat, which is fine. The rest of it we put in the roaster, roasted it for I think 4 or 5 hours, removed the meat from the bones, put the bones and the drippings back in the roaster, cooked that for 24 hours to make a broth. After the 24 hours, we strained it and put it in the refrigerator, scooped off the fat off the top, and we took the meat, the broth, and some frozen vegetables, and we have what I am calling turkey soup starter, and the leftover broth. We got 5 quarts of turkey broth. We ended up with 14 quarts of soup starters, 5 quarts of turkey broth, plus I have maybe 2 cups of turkey in here. We're going to turn that into dinner for tonight. So if we want to break down that cost, I have 14 jars of soup starter, 5 jars of broth, 5 bags, a little bit more than 5 pounds of ground turkey. So we have a total of 24 items from those 2 turkeys. I did buy a couple bags of frozen vegetables. They were roughly about $6 because I had a little bit left of 1 bag, plus I added a bag that I bought from Lidl's. So we're just going to say about $6. So we have a total of $46 invested in all of this. Divide that amongst from 24, because we got 24 units, it's $1.91. This quart-sized jar of turkey broth was $1.91. This quart-sized jar of vegetables and turkey and homemade broth was $1.91. This 1 pound bag of ground turkey was $1.91. So I think we did really good on our investment of that turkey. If I could have been able to get those turkeys at a cheaper rate when they had them on sale at Thanksgiving, which this year we will make sure we do that, then my unit price would have been even less. But before I end this video, I wanted to show you how I store my canner. So I went ahead and washed and dried my canner and the lid. I washed my spacers and I put them in here upside down. I don't know why, I just do. Then I have all of my canning, you know, the grabbers, the debubbler, and all the things. And I have it in one of my reusable produce mesh bags. And I just keep everything right in here. And that goes inside of the canner. Now my lid has this gauge right here, and I don't want that to break off. If that breaks off, it's very expensive to replace. So I store it upside down on the counter base. That way it's protected. And then my weight, I sit right there. And I will just put this in the pantry on a shelf, and I don't have to worry about that gauge getting broken. I don't have to worry about losing my weight. And I know where all of my canning utensils are. They're in here. So when I'm ready to can, I don't have to think, what did I do with my canning utensils? Where is my spacers? Where is my weight? It's right here. And I know that gauge is protected because the lid is upside down. That's how I store mine. I hope you take this advice and find it very useful. Now everybody knows that 4-jar lids are my favorite lids. I do have an affiliate link. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description below. But if I can't find it, just go to 4-jar lids, and when it asks for a promotion code, put in Grammy10. And you'll get 10% off your first order. But this is what we have. We have 5 pounds and 6 ounces of ground turkey, 14 quart-sized jars of soup starter with turkey, vegetables, and broth, and we have 5 quarts of turkey broth for our investment of $40 plus time. It's a pretty good investment. If you find anything useful in this video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're at it, please subscribe. I will love to have you part of the Grammy family. Right over here, you're going to see 2 videos. Go check those out to the next upload. They're either going to inspire you to get into your kitchen to make a delicious homemade soup starter or broth or other healthy meals to cook. Or they'll give you a chuckle. Either one is fine with me. Until next time, y'all have a blessed day, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.